Hi, Dan Danford with Money Made Easy for Dad's Divorce. We consider a question that's been presented to us by a viewer from the website, and then I try to provide some helpful answers. Question today, when should I start creating an estate plan, and how do I go about setting one up? It's a great question because if you have kids especially, having some kind of estate plan is very, very important. Now here's one of the things that most people don't know. Is if you die without a will or a trust or an estate plan, state law governs what happens to your stuff. Okay, it's pretty simple. So in the state of Missouri, if I die and I don't have a will or a trust and I haven't made any estate plans, then they go to the state statute, and the state statute says my wife gets some, my parents get some, my kids get some. Now, most of us, truthfully, wouldn't choose that distribution formula. And that distribution formula may not be the same in your state as it is in my state. But in any case, every state has statutes that govern how your, not just your money, anything you own is distributed upon your death. Okay? So it's very important that you at least sit down and figure out what you'd like to have done. Especially important if you have children. Now here's how it works with children. Something happens to you or you and your spouse and you have children, then a judge will consider who is named guardian for those children and who is conservator for those children. Okay? Now the guardianship, that's the person who actually takes care of them, physically cares for the kids. Okay? A conservatorship, that's the person who takes care financially of the kids. Now here's the key point and why it's important. Unless you suggest to the judge how you want that taken care of, he'll make the best decision available to him based on the facts that he can find. Okay? Now all of us have family, and all of us know our family better than some judge someplace. Okay? So we may have strong preferences about which members of our family we'd like looking after our kids if we aren't able to do it. Okay? The only place to exercise that responsibility, the only way to say who that person should be is to do it through a will. Okay? So if you have underage children, most important thing is in a will, say who you would like to take care of those children if something happens to you. Now, the judge doesn't have to follow your suggestions, but unless he knows your suggestions, he can't follow your suggestions. So it's a real key point. Okay? Now, the next thing is, things like, I guess the safe thing to say is, if you're young and have a young family and don't have a lot of money, then probably what's going to be your estate is your life insurance. I mean, something happens to you, there's going to be quite a bit of money that flows from that life insurance. Life insurance actually goes without a will or a trust. When you buy an insurance policy, you enter into a contract with the insurance company and you name the beneficiary if something happens. So that money is paid to the beneficiary. But here's the rub. If that beneficiary is a minor child, then the court's going to have to come in and name a guardian and a conservator to take care of the money. So again, you need to say who you want to take care of your children if that's the case. Other than that, estate planning, especially for young families, isn't all that complicated. Truthfully, most of us, if we're married, own most of our stuff with our spouse. So if, say, we own the car and it's in both our names and something happens to one of us, then the other one just owns that car. Okay? Same with your house. That's the way it's usually taken care of. The reason why this takes added importance is if you're divorced, you need to make sure that these things are taken care of. You probably don't own your car jointly. You probably don't own your house jointly. Your beneficiary designations on insurance are critically important, especially if you made them while you were married. Okay? I know of a circumstance I saw years ago where a fellow was killed in an accident and he had not changed his beneficiary from his former wife to his current wife. Guess what? The money was paid to the former wife. Certainly not what he would have chosen. Okay? So really important that you follow this up. Now, one last bit of advice I'll talk to you about estate planning. Any attorney is licensed to do wills and trusts, okay? If you have a law degree and you're admitted to the bar in your state, you're allowed to draw wills and trusts, okay? That doesn't mean they all do it with regularity. What I tell my clients is to use an attorney who specializes in the field. The reason why is because anybody can go pull pages out of a book and fill your name in and have you sign it and have it become a legal document. But the people who work in this realm all the time, they've actually been to probate court. They've actually worked with judges. They've actually worked with families who are disgruntled, or kids who are devastated, or spouses who are left behind. And that experience is extremely valuable when it comes to settling an estate. So I'd encourage you, especially in this area, okay? It's probably not going to cost you a lot more to use somebody who works with a lot of estate planning, but you're certainly going to get extra experience and guidance because of it. So going back to the very beginning, should you get estate planning? Well, most definitely if you have children, you should get some simple estate planning. The second part of the question, how do you go about it? Contact an attorney who works in the area and sit down with them and let them guide you through the process. Shouldn't be very expensive for a young family, and it certainly will be beneficial if something happens to you. The last thing I'll note, and it's really interesting, but the truth of the matter is most estate plans that are drawn for young families never come into play. I mean, it really is relatively rare for something to happen to a young mother or father. Okay, so these plans that you put in place genuinely are there in case. Okay, just in case. You probably won't ever use them. But if they're necessary, if you leave kids behind, it'll be extremely important that you took this extra step and that you spend a little money making sure things were done right. That's it for Money Made Easy. We'll see you next time.